Well, let's start. We already have a case. I was walking in this museum and I asked the guide, there are almost no labels. How come? Do you provide an audio tour or something? And she said, no, I'm sorry, it's a lack of money and we are not able to have an audio tour. And I thought, well, this is the best example of a museum in need for more money, another business model, new propositions and so on.
You shouldn't have these audience and you should have the politicians here.
Well, can I say, sorry, I come from Tate in London, and Tate Britain has practically no labels because of the curatorial choice. So
Yeah.
it's probably not always the...
I thought, is it a choice? Well, they apologized, and I thought, is it a choice? Because I like it, and I'll come to that later.
Sorry. Is it a choice to have an audio guide?
Yeah.
Is it a curator's choice of not having it?
Okay. This is what I'm planning to do with you, step by step. There are 12 questions on your paper. I hope everybody has a pen, and otherwise you have to remind it. Now and then there will be a question, and you can fill in the answer, and after this masterclass you will have a basic plan of what to do, I hope. So it's about understanding what business we are in. It's about understanding the identity and the brand values of the organization. It's about personifying this identity, make it really personal and make it yours. It's getting an understanding of the assets, the main activities, relationships, and so on, which has to lead to a sustainable organization. And now I don't know if everybody is familiar with the business model canvas. Maybe some of you are. Some of you may be in marketing, and some of you are far away from marketing. So I'll try to, well, I'll not try to please everybody, but if you have a question, please raise your hand, and we'll go on. First, I will tell you something about why, how, and what, the power source, as I call it, and some examples of making heritage relevant from the Netherlands. I come from the Netherlands. Then we talk a bit about your case, but it will be a bit tricky because we are with so many people and we have so little time. There won't be enough time to really go through all the cases. So hopefully we can pass that part. This is already the fourth slide, so we're doing a job. I'm going to talk a bit about business, about marketing, and so on, but I'm not really a marketeer. I'd like you to share your dreams. I think the most important part of thinking about your business and thinking about funding and so on is about articulating your dream. We all have a dream. We all have a dream about our museum. We love our museum. But it's the point that we have to articulate that dream in order to make our audience understand what dream we want to share. And then we have to make this dream come true. And then we have to share it. And then we have to keep it alive. At the left top corner, you see images of museums. It's just searching in Google, and then you search for museum, and then you see only buildings. That's a strange thing. So I entered another search question, museums and people. And I think museums are always about people. Before we start, there's a nice quote from Ken Robinson. If you're not prepared to be wrong, you'll never come up with anything original. And that's true. And it's my quote, if you don't know how to, if you don't want to know how to make money, you'll never learn to understand your customer. Let me tell you, I'm also a guest lecturer at the Rijnwaard Academy, and when I start my lectures with a new group of students, I always ask them, well, how are we going to make money? Think about it for 5 minutes. And then they look at me, I don't know what you mean, making money, how? And sometimes there is someone telling me, but I don't know who my audience is. Well, that's the first start. In order to make money, to raise money for your museum, to do marketing, to invite people, you have to know what they're looking for. Well, that's me. There are some labels. I use this photo for Twitter, Facebook, and so on. So if you find me on Twitter, and you will see that photo. And 7 years ago, I started a network for heritage professionals together with the students of the Rijnwaard Academy. It's called Erfgoed 2.0, Heritage 2.0. It was just fun of collecting knowledge about heritage and new media. And after half a year, I figured out that many people found this weblog and the network, and I started to think, well, maybe we should make it a bit more professional, and then the other networks came. But I used to be an artist, as you see in the left top corner. But I wasn't really a great painter, so I started, and I thought paintings are dull. People look at it and they don't do anything. So I started making, well, pieces of art like a house in the style of Van Gogh, but with only mirrors in it. So people could come in and start a conversation with me. And that was really nice. But then I had to earn money, and I started working for an internet company, and we did a platform called Life and Cooking. It was for Unilever, and it was all about life and cooking. And we did some things for Heineken. But it's not a good thing to mention Heineken on Friday afternoon. But yeah. But I learned a lot about brand values and marketing, and that's the main point. And then I became editor-in-chief of 2 children's magazines, educational magazines. One, Zo zit dat. It's called, well, I can't translate it even. Do you know it? Yeah, it's, well, that's how. Maybe that's a good translation. It's about science, popular science, for kids from 8 to 14 years. But then I had enough of all this commercial work, and I started working at a small company called Tinker Imagineers, and I finally could make exhibitions again and so on. So you see these 2. But important for me was that I learned so much from marketing and communication, understanding what is the good part about marketing and communication. Well, then I had an idea. I was working on a project and tried to tell them how to manage all their social media in order to raise friends and so on. And they didn't understand. So I wrote a book, and it's called Ready, Set, Go. And I will tell you something about this idea. So now we are reaching the first question, and the first question is, what business are you in? I'll give you 2 minutes to think about what business are you in. Hi. Because the truth is that most company leaders, as you can see, are too narrow in defining their competitive landscape or market space. They fail to see the potential for non-traditional competitors, and therefore often misperceive their basic business definition and future market space. But the biggest threats usually come from oblique competitors that are solving the same problem in a different way, with an alternate offering for the customer. And maybe you could be that competitor as a museum. There are so many companies around, but why aren't you challenging those companies? We tend to think that in a museum, we have to be lucky if we get some money. Why? Why is that? Have you thought about the first question? Could you write it down? No. What business are you in right now? You can write down, I'm in a museum. Well, try to make a definition of the business of your museum. You're in a public museum.
It's a little bit different than working for a private.
You're not in the social business working with people?
Yes, we are, but we cannot manage our kind of core because it doesn't belong to us.
No?
It belongs to the state.
Yeah.
So
But
it's the state who has to take care of that. I have just only to comment.
I don't agree on that. Yesterday I agreed on everything, but now I don't agree on that.
I can't by law.
Why not? Is it prohibited to do some business in a museum?
Well, according to our constitution, we cannot do business.
What do you mean with business, though?
If people come to your museum, are they paying for the museum?
They're not allowing us to do that.
No, they are not.
They're not paying. You're from the Tate. They're not paying.
They are not paying, and also I work specifically in learning, and they would never be asked to pay for a learning workshop. But I think it's still business because there is an exchange.
Yeah, there's an exchange.
So
There's an
money is
exchange of values. Money is just one part of the business.
Yeah.
There are other things as well. Yeah.
So I put my business as museum learning. That is all right. Okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then there's another idea, the power source of your organization. It's for every organization. We are somehow familiar with the question, what's your vision and what's your mission? And then we make a long vision and a long mission and nobody understands, right? Or almost nobody understands. Go to your museum and ask everybody who works there, what's our vision? What's our mission? And they don't know.
Again, there are different mission, different vision, and different goals that you have to apply for your museum in order to make the whole machine working, because it's not just only one.
Yeah, but I know that if everybody in your museum shares the same vision and knows what mission you are basically in,
Well,
they know what to do.
The so-called company, say, vision that is, give better result to either on the side of conservation and on the side of communication. But then if you ask the curator, they are telling you something. If you ask to other people who is arranging other things, they have other duties to do.
They have duties to do, but that's not a vision. The vision is how you see the future as a museum, is how you see the world around you and your role in this world. That's the vision.
Can I give an example?
Yeah.
So I, until very recently, worked for the Smithsonian. The mission was the increase and diffusion of knowledge. Our vision for mobile was to use the connected technology to recruit the world to help us achieve the mission.
No. There you
But
go.
that was, not for any person.
Every organization needs that.
Every organization terms it's just a common name or something like that.
Every organization should have a mission and a vision, I think.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Here's
That's the point. And it's every.
Can I say something about how? I mean, I'm from Spain, and I think I know Italian work and system, how it works. And I think part of the problem is that even at high level, Italian and Spanish museum organization has not a mission or vision.
Just
So
saying.
it just doesn't exist. So you have to go down and see who is the vision and the mission of each person, and that's how it becomes chaotic and I say it in Spanish, like a chicken without head. So that's
The point is that if so many visions are in your museum, if you go down as you told us, it's hard for a museum to stand out in the crowd and say to that audience, this is us. This is our promise. And the vision has a visionary power or a beckoning power. It's saying, come, let's go over there. I'll invite you. You go over there. And the missionary or working power is like, we do this because, it's like you told us. It's an explanation in it. It's how it works, how we solve the problem. Because we have our vision, and between our vision and the state we are willing to be in and the state we are in now, there's a change. It's not the same. So we have a change from achieving this vision. And we can manage it by using our working power. And there's a third power, and that's the relational or recruiting power. It's if you tell, we want to make an end to the poverty in the world. And we do this by letting people help, making local companies and so on. And then the relational or recruiting power is how you can join us and how you can attribute to this mission. And every big idea has these three powers: the visionary, missionary, and relational power. So I want to ask you, describe this power source of your organization. And I also wrote, look, because, and so that's why. We use this for making text for science museums. You see something, there's a small explanation why you see it, why it's there, and then you see a text about what it means for you and how you can attribute to this idea. And it's a very simple way of making the core message of your museum. Look, because, and so. In Dutch we say, kijk, want, en dus. You know it, eh? And it's very hard. It can take you a week or a month to make this sentence that's working for your organization. But if you have one, and if you share it with everybody, and they cooperate in making this one sentence, then you'll see that everybody in your museum, regardless if they are from the marketing or education or exhibition part of the museum, they all know this core of your museum. And that's very important. And it works like this. If you have the vision and the mission and the relation, for whom are you here? Who's your partner? Who's your audience? Then you'll have your strategy, and it works like I found out there's another type of engine. It's the Wankel engine effect, and it's not like this, what most engines do, but it turns around. Well, that's an innovative thing. There are two other things. One is concepting, and it's a term from Jan Rijkenberg from the communication company BSUR. BSUR. That's a nice name. And he coined the term concepting. And he said, well, concepting is bringing thought concepts, big ideas to market for the process of attracting audiences based on the meaning of an organization instead of spending too much budget on marketing. He found out that most communication projects were about spending much money, advertisement, commercials, and so on. And you reach only 5% of the people, of your target group. And then he thought, well, but what can make some companies successful? They are successful if they share why they're here, the core message of your organization. And by doing so, you're allowing your audience to say, well, I think that's important for me. I'll join you. And he wrote this book in the late 19th of the 20th century. And he's planning a new book on this because now we have social media. It's so much easier to tell your story. And all of what I'm telling is about storytelling. Storytelling, not just corporate storytelling, but telling the story of what you think that's important for you. And as we can see on social media, we join LinkedIn groups, we join blogs or whatever. If we find some things on it that are very important for us. I have to apologize for my English. It's really tough ideas to tell you, but and the second part is societal marketing. It's not just social media marketing; it's societal marketing. It's and it's not really marketing. It's telling what you think should happen in the world. For instance, should happen. For instance, Starbucks is
increasing awareness.
No.
Sharing the values.
Sharing your values.
Marketing is sharing the
Well, he's kind of saying it's more than marketing.
It's more than marketing. It's another kind of marketing. I don't like marketing, but I like societal marketing. It's when, for instance, Starbucks says, okay, we give you a nice cup of coffee, and we make it a bit personal, and we have a lot of nice stuff, and you pay for it. But we also do good things, because we believe that people in some countries should have a fair rate for their coffee. And
you're not using,
so if there are 3 coffee companies and you're about to choose which one to take, you might take Starbucks because you like the idea. That's what societal marketing is about. For museums, this is the easy part, because you're about doing things good. You're about doing things good for the world. So many people tend to go to the museum and thinking, well, I do something good. But what if your museum is saying, well, okay, Tate may be free, you're not paying to go there. No, that's a good part. But if you say, well, we ask you €2 extra, it's because we have a project going on in Bangladesh or so on. And we believe this is a really good project. And you're planning events about this project. Your employees are going to Bangladesh, trying to help. You share this. Well, let's look how much what it will do for your public relations. They'll love you. Well, that's the part of societal marketing. But you have to believe in it. It's not just window dressing. You've got to believe in it. Like this. There's a zoo in the Netherlands, and it was a very small zoo. It was a nice zoo, though, but not many people were visiting. And then they started thinking, well, we have those apes and small bears, but most of them live in the tropical rainforest. And if we don't do anything about the tropical rainforest, we will be the only ones having those apes. So we ask you more money, and you help us to safeguard those rainforests. And it helps. People like those ideas. Well, that's another part. It's about not just doing things good, but it's also about well-being. And Martin Seligman, how do you pronounce it? He's American.
Seligman?
Seligman?
Could be Seligman.
No. He says that, he calls it PERMA, well, it's short for permanent, I think. It's about positive emotions, engagement, relations, meaning and purpose, and accomplishment. If you think about doing something for your museum, doing communication, doing education, making an exhibition, just think of these 5 points. Will people have positive emotions? Will they like the exhibition? Will they be glad they came? Will there be engagement? Or maybe we see a lot of nice stuff in this museum, but it's not really engaging me. That's the point. And then we come to fan engagement. By sharing your values and all the things I just told you, it's not just engagement, it's just creating fans for your museum. Not just an instant engagement, but a long-term engagement. They want to be your fan. That's what we want to achieve. So you can write down on your paper what the most important values for your museum are. And take this home, take this to your museum, and discuss with your colleagues what the most important values are. And you'll see, if you do so, you'll have a better understanding of what your museum is about and which way to go. And everything about business modeling or marketing or fundraising starts with this discussion. Do we share the same values? What are our values? Because if you make an exhibition or education or marketing, all these things, your values should be in it. Not with big signs, but just in the way you do it. And then the second part is, why are these values or issues or topics, why are they important for your fans? Because you can think about your values, but what about their values? I think that a visit to a museum is a meeting. It's not just people visiting your museum for the good stuff, it's a meeting. They like to meet you, your museum, your stuff, and they like to have a dialogue about it. Well, this is an example of a company, they call it Better Cotton, because most of our clothes are made of cotton, and most of the cotton isn't that good. It's a lot of pollution and so on. You'll see that if we talk about sustainability for museums, we are also having the questions about the environment, about the resources in the world. I think that a museum is part of the community. It's not just the temple in the community, it's part of the community. And by being part of the community, the museum should also be concerned about the community, about our society. In the Netherlands...
Does for you sustainability mean more than a building?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
electricity and plumbing and water costs, and that's an environmental factor which
Yeah.
museums care about. But
It is
Yeah.
not just only that. Think about the 650,000 pair of shoes, scratching the original pavement in that.
Yeah.
For me, is a great concern.
Yeah, that's a great concern, of course.
So about it going this way, with the other goal that you are asking me in order to, raise the number of people who is actually going there. So conservation and, allowing people in sharing and, having fun being faced with my museums is a kind of, how can I say, a kind of competition very strong.
Yeah.
This is why I tell you that I cannot have only one vision.
Did he ask for us to increase the number of on-site visitors? I don't think so.
No.
But the way, anyway, if you promote somewhere, you know, the social engagement, it means that people ask to come, and it is true. It is their good wish. But on the other side, you know, I have a limit.
Yeah. But after all, if you
This is true for historical buildings. This is true
I know it.
It is not applicable for other kind of building, but when you are considering,
Yeah.
you can have a model, but of course then you have to apply the model to a real situation.
True. But I'm not making things easier. I'm making them more complex.
No, we know.
Because I know you can handle it. Well, we have to, because otherwise, within 10 years, some of our museums will be closed.
Less than 10 years, you're right.
So we have to. We have to make it more complex. We have to think harder, work harder, not less. I'm sorry. Well, in the Netherlands, we have a new government for about a few years, and we have a new king.
We do it this time. We have a king.
Yeah.
From today.
And he was telling us, all the people in the Netherlands, to participate more in society. I think it's the other way around. Not just people should participate in society or in your museum, but the museum should participate in society. The king should participate in the society. The government should participate, not just stepping back what they do. I think it has to be a two-way reaction. Well, that's why I'm telling this.
Just to answer Laura, okay. I think that probably the goal shouldn't be having a lot of visitors, because we already have, especially in Uffizi Museum, or the biggest ones anyway, but probably attracting curious visitors. I mean, the kind of visitors that could be really engaged with the museum and could bring something positive. Because the real problem is that you see a lot of tourists that just run inside the Uffizi Museum, or I don't know, any other big Italian museum. Yeah, but they don't leave any feedback. They don't interact with the city, with any cultural institution.
Be very, very careful what you're saying. I mean, what are you going to do? Have entrance exams to come into a museum?
No.
Are you serious enough to come into our courts?
Sorry, maybe I didn't understand. I'm saying that if you use the right kind of communication, probably...
I don't think we can judge what people get from coming to a museum.
No,
Therefore, we cannot prejudge and pre-select who gets to come.
But I'm not judging. Probably I just didn't explain myself. I'm just saying that there are different kinds of visitors. And of course, everyone is welcome inside the Uffizi, and there will always be people who come there just to say, okay, I've been there. And people who go to the Uffizi or any other museum and they want to learn, they want to come back, they want to give something back to the museum, to the rest of the city, the other fellow visitors, whatever. There are two different kinds of visitors. And honestly, I don't think it's just a matter of numbers. That was I was saying. I'm not judging anyone.
Yeah, but I think actually I disagree also with the idea of kinds of visitors. Right? I mean, that almost kind of creates classes in and of itself, which is, I think, where the implied
it's not
hierarchy
kind of
is.
visitors, is the way, the attitude, that we have as museums towards our public, different kind of public, because they are coming with different expectations, I think. Okay. Yeah. And our difficulties when we run such numbers, is to find the right way to go to them, that.
So I agree with that. I think I would put the onus on the museum rather than on the visitor.
Okay.
And the way I phrased it was putting it
maybe is that
on the visitor.
Yeah.
For example, when I'm going to the Uffizi, I'm just avoiding to see, primavera whatsoever, you know, because there is such a lot of mosquitoes around. I would never even see it, you know. But the same as if you go to the Louvre or to Museo d'Orsay, you cannot even face to the room, you know.
Well, that's...
About the different kind of visitors. They are different also because they, from the logistic point of view, because a lot of people goes to Uffizi, they arrive with crociere, with
the crusaders,
cruises, and so they go from a part to another with the of the city with moderator, and so they are not free. So the difference can be it because they have different logistic mean. Other type of visitors, we can attract, a museum can attract them with its own strategy in order to attract the visitor who like this type of offering.
Well, I think that the main thing is that it's not important to have as many visitors as possible. I think we can agree on that.
But
it's not just
the vision of the politicians. That will be the vision of the politicians.
Yeah, unless we say otherwise, and we convince them, and that's the thing we have to do, and that's our job, and that's why we have to share this vision and mission in the museum. I'm from the Netherlands.
Okay. You know which kind of EU government we have.
Yeah.
How they are oriented.
Yeah. But still, it's possible.
That was the dream that you were telling us before.
Yeah. Well, let me say that there was a palace of the royal family in the Netherlands, and the royal family sold the palace, and then they thought, well, we can make exhibitions in it. And after a year, so many visitors came that they had to close it. That's your point, I think. And that's because they just focused on as many visitors as possible. They didn't think about what is this, what's the quality of it. So you don't have to choose which visitors you want. You choose which story you are going to tell. That's the point. Well, Museum Boerhaven, the Rijnwaard people know it. You don't know it? Okay. It's a small museum in the Netherlands, in Leiden, and they have a collection of medical stuff, scientific medical stuff. And, well, it wasn't well known, and then I did a lecture about social media, and afterwards the curator said, "Why are you talking so much about Twitter?" I said, "Oh, I'll explain it once more." And next day he started following me, and after half a year, people said to me, "Well, you like Twitter. You should follow Bart Grob. He's really good at Twitter." Yeah, I thought, well, yeah, duh. I told him. But then they got an intern from the Rijnwaard Academy, and she started doing communication. And I also told her, use Twitter, Facebook, and so on, and it's important. And then I visit them sometimes, and then they had really a problem because it's a state museum, and state museums in the Netherlands are obliged to have 70% of their own income, apart from subsidies and so on, 17%. And it was a big problem for them. They had to raise about €500,000. And then they started, and after a few months, they reached that point. And then I saw the director of the museum, and I asked him, well, honestly, did your social media efforts play any role in this fundraising? And he said, definitely, because a year ago, people didn't know us. And we were just a small museum doing our thing, worrying about our visitors, worrying about our collection and our exhibitions and education and so on. And suddenly, people thought that we were an innovative museum. We were well known. A lot of young people knew us. They didn't visit, but okay, they knew us. And when the announcement came that they had to raise money, or otherwise they would be closed, all the people said, no, not Museum Boerhaven. And then they started fundraising, and the sponsor said, well, so many people like your museum, well, okay, I will donate some money. So they needed about 500. Yeah. They needed 500,000 euros, and they got 700,000 euros. So it did work out well. And he was very positive, because at first, he didn't like this social media stuff. It was annoying, it was a trouble, it took too much time, and it was expensive. Well, it wasn't.
He was utilizing one person devoted to this, or he did it?
No, it started with one person, the curator, and then another person, and then many people in the museum started writing blogs and doing the Twitter and Facebook and so on. And it's a full-time job. And they started doing things like, well, at Tuesday evening, Tuesday afternoon, you can ask our curator to show you things of our collection. So you could send a tweet and guide the curator through the museum. And he will show you pictures. And then they took pictures from their collection, and they asked, what kind of music do you think belongs to this picture or painting or part of the collection? And after they received many answers, they organized an event and invited all the people that suggested music, and they hired a DJ, and they had a really great time. By doing these kind of things, they opened their museum to an other audience, and a very engaged audience. And they did so because they were really interested in what those people were thinking. And they had a clear vision of what they were doing. Well. Sorry? No, they stopped after fundraising. I shouldn't say that. Well, the girl from the communication went to the Museum of Communication. She got a better job.
You see, this is a matter of sustainability as well, because I feel, well,
yeah, because she was an intern, and she got a job at another museum, and that's wrong. Yeah, because your social media policy is about the core of your organization. I don't think you will hire an intern to manage your collection. Or you do. Yeah, well, if there's no other solution, you'll have to, but it won't be the head of your collection, or is it? Well, maybe. But think of a large company like Coca-Cola. They won't hire an intern to do their social media because that's too dangerous. They can't do that. And you should think likewise for your museum. Well. No. Yeah, it's new. I just want to mention that there are more than 600,000 persons who like the Tate. And they really do. Not all of them, but most of them do. Yeah. Yeah. And I had
I thought we got to the million, but I'm not sure. Maybe
well, it's from. I started working on this masterclass some while ago because I thought, well, I will be very busy, and so I already took this picture because I thought I should mention Tate. Yeah. You know why. But it's also clear that there are not only pictures about Tate, there are also pictures about Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, because they put a lot of effort in it. And they make it clear, just the first side is, we're on this social media. And it means we care about you co-creating with us. We care about your opinion. We care about you as a visitor. Not just by visiting us and paying, but we care about your opinion. And then we have the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam. Well, they have the Rijksstudio, and it's kind of famous already. I was at their first anniversary of the Rijksstudio, and they were very proud. But what they do is that they took, well, not all the pictures from their collection, but most of that. They have 1 million items in their collection, more than 1 million, and they have about 300,000 high-res images. And they share it for free. And it took a lot of fight in the museum to do so, because people from the museum shop said, well, we won't be selling any reproductions anymore if you do. But that's not true. They're still selling reproductions, because I can't make a good reproduction on my printer. So I go to the museum, but people like to make collections. You can take pictures from the collection, make your own collection in it, and people make collections from every painting with a rabbit in it, every painting with a green leaf in it, every painting with a cat in it, people ice skating. They make new collections. And the curators find out that there are images they didn't even knew they exist. Because who knows 1 million items in a collection? No one. And it's nice to have so many people working on your collection. And they're for free, so if you like to print your own car, or if you like to sell cars with the prints of the Rijksmuseum, you're allowed to. And that's a totally new business model. So now they are co-producing dresses, for instance, with lovely dresses, with images from the collection, and they sell it in their shop. And people love it. They pay 300 euros for those dresses. And the Rijksmuseum gets a fee. And it's more than selling some reproductions. Yeah. So it's a new business model. People make pictures of the milkmaid. They and it's the champagne maid. They called it the champagne maid. And they had an award, the Rijksstudio Award, for the best pictures and the most engaging pictures. And I put that maze on the top left because copyright issues are one of the main problems for museums. It's always the copyright. So what the Rijksmuseum did was really brave. They said, well, we don't care about copyright. We'll see.
Well, here, I was just thinking, they put all of us in jail in Italy if we do something like that. Because we have a law that everybody has to pay.
It's from the state. People already paid for it. Yeah. It's old. After 70 years, the copyright.
Actually, I'm working for a family, and we did a project in Parma with a museum of the history, and we, at the beginning, we already uploaded 111 of the initial images that everybody can download. And actually, everybody
Google approach to the
so I think it's possible also in
no, they had an agreement with the ministry. Google approach had an agreement with the ministry.
this is outside
We have a project too on it's restricted permission by this, and we have to do.
It's true. It's always an issue.
Are visitors allowed to take their own pictures?
After, let's say after 3 months that we were working in it, then now it's allowed.
Okay, it wasn't allowed.
Without flash, but in any.
No, without flash.
Without, you can take picture without.
Yeah. But
It's allowed. No with flash, but.
okay. Well, I use the microphone. Let's continue. I know it's a big issue, and we will have a lot of fight on copyright. We have a lot of fight to go, but we have to do so, because otherwise our museums will die, really. And I was taking pictures in this museum, and I'm about to share them.
Without flash.
Of course, without flash. Well, it's not a big issue, the flash. They have done a lot of. Yeah. And talking about the Google Art Project, at the Rijksmuseum, they're not too fond about the Google Art Project because they say our images are better. And they are, I've discovered. So they're now they're looking for partners like Etsy to sell their stuff. And in this way, they will enter a new business model by selling more to more people, not just their visitors.
Excuse me, can I ask, just because I'm not sure I understood, when you said you can take the picture from the Rijksmuseum and print your car or sell the print, I wouldn't have to give a percentage to the museum?
No.
So.
No. Yeah, you should. Yeah, you can make money. And they think if many people are making money with our images, well, people will ask, how do you get that? Where do you get that image from? And if you tell from the Rijksmuseum, that's their marketing. Yeah, that's a return in any way. And people love the museum, and they think, either way, well, we have to do this because we can't stick to the copyright.
It's a beautiful virtuous cycle.
Yeah.
Because the people pay for the care of that collection and the digitization of that collection to start with.
Yeah.
The museum gives it back to the community. People start businesses, they create jobs, they make money.
Yeah.
Then the state can take the permission away because then the businesses and the people will be up in arms saying, what are you doing with our property? Why are you taking it away?
What are you doing with our museum? And that's the point I want to make.
Now they have a contest for people to create their own products with the images of the collection. There was a Norwegian lingerie, like everything you want to do, and they're gonna award the best designs, and then depending on what they are, we might reproduce them and sell them in the store.
Yeah. Well, maybe you're all familiar with Culture Label, or you are not. Culture Label is some kind of super museum web shop that thought, if I'm a customer and I want to buy a present, a really nice present, am I going to visit 10, 20 museum web shops online? No. I'm going to a shop where they have a lot, and they have the best of many museums. And they consider it a ways of communication for a museum. Because if you have a new exhibition with new stuff, you sell it in via Culture Label, and people read about your exhibition. And they did it also for the Iron Bridge Gorge in England. There are many small museums and archives in the Iron Bridge Gorge. And they were all competing with each other until they made a new label where they all profit from. So it's a new business model for those museums. They still have their own museum, they still have their own web shop, but they're, oh, I missed the word. They also use this platform, yeah. Well, in the Netherlands there's a small company, Museum Web Shops, and they are about to do the same in the Netherlands. And they made some for the Gelders Archief, a province in the Netherlands, an archive there. And they made a web shop, and the web shop tells you about where to go, what to visit, and also you can buy stuff. And that's a new business model. And at the left corner you see Pajottenland Senneverleid. It's a region in Belgium, and they're having funds from Europe. They managed to have some funds. So they asked me, well, we want to have an app. Can you help us? And I said, yes and no. Because why do you want an app? Well, we thought that would be nice if you're in this region and you open the app and you know where to go. And I said, well, can you tell them? Are you able to tell them? What are you going to tell them? Because maybe in one street I can see something, but in 10 other streets there'll be nothing. You can't cover the whole region. So I ask you, what is it you want to do? Well, we want to sell stuff, and okay, start a shop, not an app. So we're now working on a combination of the app and the shop. So you can see which places to visit, you can buy stuff, and so on. Well, I'll go a bit faster. This Retronaut. Europeana is a really, well, I think it's an issue. Because it costed so many money, and they started with an idea. 5.5 million euros. Oh no, that's just 1 year.
Yeah, per year.
Yeah. And then they asked me, can you help us? We will do. We are about to do some more marketing, and we would like to know some more about social media. I said, well, I'm not going to do that. Well, it's a great job. No, I don't think it's a great job, because I don't believe in making this Europeana and then thinking afterwards, well, maybe we could evolve people. I thought you should start with that question.
It's cloud. It's not societal, as it
Yeah. But then Retronaut is making business out of Europeana because it's all free. And he uses these pictures, making nice themes, and having a nice income from Google Ads. I like the idea. This is Oneindig Noord-Holland. It's about the province of North Holland. They asked me to make a membership program. And I asked them, do you have a back office? No. Then I said, well, then you can't have a membership program. I tell this because it's, we tend to think, well, we need a new business model. Let's have members. Let's have donations. Let's have a shop. Let's have an app. But you start with thinking about your audience. What are they looking for? You start with building a community and sharing what you think is important. Well, then I made a membership program, and and I did a lot of community stuff and helped them with the social media, but they hired a company to do the communication, and they said they did already social media, and I told them, well, you're not doing it, you're doing it wrong. And now finally they're about to raise some money. But we had a nice idea because how do you? I have to find a word for the the local village, they have a government, how do you call it? Please help me, anyone?
Municipality.
Yeah, the municipality. In Northern Holland, there are about 25 municipalities. And we thought, this is a nice platform for them. They can tell exhibitions. So they have to pay for it. And we started with Amsterdam, Haarlem, and Alkmaar, the 3 big cities in Northern Holland. And he said, well, you're obliged to pay 10,000 euros. Don't you think so? We will do some marketing for you. You can have your own page on it. You can reach the audience. And there used to be, in the Middle Ages, there used to be a law in the Northern Holland, because it's all water surrounded by the sea, and they had to build dikes. So the rich people had to pay for building the dikes. So everybody could stay dry, they could have their trade, and so on, and everybody would prosper from it. And we said, well, this was from the Middle Ages, and now we're doing it again. and they liked the idea.
The culture of the
Yeah,
people.
yeah, they liked the idea. So the 3 main municipalities were going to the others, to the smaller ones, and said, well, we're paying a lot. You don't have to pay that much, but you like to join us? So within a few months, we had a lot of money. And then we started to go into the businesses and say, well, we have a nice platform, and all the municipalities are paying for it, and they think it's a good idea. Don't you think so? Okay. That's also a business model, but it's a tricky one, because after a year, you have to do this again. And after a year, you have to do this again, unless you build your idea stronger. This is another one, about the same, but they want to do it for the whole Netherlands and Europe. And they think people don't just visit a museum, they visit a town or a region. And if they do so, they would like to eat nice, sleep nice, and have a nice museum and some other things. So, and they have a lot of stories about cities, about events, about history. And they're combining all these stuff. So it's a combination of tourism, and that's what I told you about yesterday. It's tourism and heritage. And it's a great combination. And he has another business model, because there are not many people paying for this platform, and but there are a lot of people, still there are a lot of people who want to share their stories or want to write. And there's a lot of unemployment in the Netherlands, and he thought, well, maybe we could make a match. So people are writing for this platform, and the government is paying for it. That's also a business model, just to show you to think out of the box. This is another one. This is an artist, and she went to the Museum Boijmans van Beuningen and asked them for their medieval glasses. And then she was allowed to take them through the MRI scanner. She used 3D software and a 3D printer to make another copy of it. And then she made a, how do you call it? If you use mold. And then she made the ceramics, and you can put it in the dishwasher. But it contains a marker. And by scanning the marker, you can see the story about the collection. Well, that's a really smart idea. You can sell it in your shop. And people like it. You can use it in your restaurant, your museum, cafe, or something, and people will know what they see and enjoy it. Maaike Rosenberg is her name. So, I think we're running a bit short in time. We are with too many people to do all separate cases. But I would like you to write down, what is your case? What is your main problem you're facing? And just try to write it down in a small in a few sentences. And if you like to share it with me, you can do it afterwards, and I'll try to think with you about your idea, about your case. Because otherwise we will have to, we will not have enough time to do all the cases. I'm sorry, because it's almost 4:30 in the afternoon, and it's warm and we are tired. I don't think that's a good idea. But I promise you...
Amsterdam's not far from Florence, right? So
No.
people can come and get a longer workshop with you there.
That's okay, or send me an email and ask your most important question, just a short question, and I will answer it. Just one short question, not what to do with my museum, because well, then I will say, close it. Close it or sell it to me, and
I will do that.
I will do it. Yeah. Well, I'm about to take over a very small museum.
Put them together on the platform.
No, other things. Because everything I'm telling now, I have to do the next year, starting with a very small collection, and I promised them that in 5 years we would own the whole building, very nice old building, and we would have a nice museum, because it's the only museum in a very small town. And I said, well, they deserve a museum, and the mayor said, well, that's a good idea. So now I have to do it.
Careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah, but I like that. So, finally, the business model canvas. Does anyone know the business model canvas? You know how to use it? Yeah, yeah, me too. Well, Alex Osterwalder and Yves Peigneur conceived this business model canvas because they thought that every business model can be tracked down to 9 building blocks. And then he wrote a nice book, which was a business model in itself, because he asked people, marketeers and so on, and business consultants, please share your information for this book, and I will put your name in this book, and you will have a great marketing tool. And it only cost you $100. And after a month, it was $200. And finally, the last people who really wanted to be in this book paid $10,000 to be in the book. So he could publish it. This is a nice business model, and I like the idea of putting things in practice, like you said. There are 9 building blocks, and I will explain them shortly. But there are few, only 4 of the building blocks I'm asking you to think about, because they are important for this story we are sharing. And that is, what are the main assets of your museum? What are you good at? That's the building block at the left. It's the key activities and the key resources. So for most museums, it's our collection. Almost everyone will be writing down, our collection is our main asset. But, and some other people say, well, our building. But you can also say, we are very good at education. So maybe there is a business model in doing more education, less museum, more education, as long as it's part of your vision and mission and identity. Or you say, we are very good at handling people. So why not make a business model out of handling people? That's why it's important to know what your main assets are and what your main activities are. They're almost the same, but assets is more about your resources, and activities is about what you do and the stuff you have. And then describe the most important relationships. And you can, we all have the form to fill in? Yeah, you can fill it in the form. And the idea was that if you answer the questions on the form, then afterwards you will have a starting point for innovating your business model and innovating the way you work. So to the schools is also a distribution channel. It's a way to distribute your products to your customers. Well, these are the building blocks. The key partners at the left, the key activities, key resources, the customer segments, knowing who your customers are, and it's not just one customer, there are many customers. The customer relationships, what kind of relationships do you have? And I will show you 2 examples of an archive. The channels, the distribution channels, and then at the bottom there are the revenue streams and the cost structure. And in the middle, there's the value proposition. By filling in all the building blocks, and you can do that together with your staff or your colleagues or whatever, you'll have quite a notion of your own business model, and then you can start to innovate it by putting some things out of it or inventing new things. What would be a new customer? What would be a new channel? Is there a new channel available? After Alex Osterwalder published the book, we asked them to, if we could make a translation for the Dutch heritage sector. And we did so, and we published a book which is called Business Model, Innovation, Cultural Heritage, or Cultureel Erfgoed in Dutch, and it's the BMICE project. And after we published the book, we started with a small group of archives and museums to do workshops on the business model and helping them with their business model. As you can see here in this picture, the building blocks are explained. And if I sent you the PDF, and then there will be a link in it to more information about the building blocks and how to use them. Because we made on this platform, Erfgoed 2.0, Erfgoed 2.0.nl. Can you pronounce it? Dutch is really difficult. I will give you the link. And here again, you can see there are 5 steps of thinking about your business model. Well, let's skip this part. Well, findability is a thing you can be good at, or comfort, like having good services, or here's a good quality hot pizza. It's an example of a product you can deliver. From a museum, you can deliver, well, maybe a really good hot pizza in your restaurant. That would be a thing for, if the museum the entrance is free, people will also come to your restaurant. Yeah. In the city, or yeah, that's great. It's good. Yeah. It's good. Yeah, and it's good for the environment. Yeah. When I was in London, I went to Victoria and Albert, and we had a lunch. And I really want to come back for the lunch. Yes. It was great. Yeah. So it's something you can offer. Yeah. And then your museum staff will. Well, maybe they say, well, we are not about pizzas, we're about a collection. And I think, no, you're about people. About people, and well, when I started lecturing at the Rijnwaard Academy, I did a lot of strange stuff with social media, and then the director invited me to have a chat. And he said, well, I heard you're doing new things. And how do you think about heritage? I said, well, what I notice at this academy is that you start with an object, and then you're practicing how to describe this object, and how to preserve this object, and maybe how to communicate about this object. And I said, well, that's not your idea. I said, no. I think you should start with 2 people. And one of them is asking to the other, what is it you have? Well, I have saved something, collected something. Why? And that dialogue is important. So I think our museums are about that dialogue, not just about stuff. And if we maintain thinking about the stuff we have and our collection, we won't be able to reach all the audience we need. Well, this is what an archive used to be. They had a customer looking for his ancestors or maybe an old map or something. At the revenues, they had sometimes they had an entrance fee, or people were paying for a copy, or they had subsidies from the government. And as a distribution channel, they had their building, and the relationship was personal, one by one. People would come to the... Yeah?
Is there any reference structure for the museum balance sheet? I mean, of course, that should be different for different class of museums, but I think that there should be some general ideas about which are the typical percentage for type of incomes, typical running costs, investments, whatever. I think it could be, in any case, a reference, because you can't think, or you might think, I don't know, to have most of your income from gadgets, or most of your income from visitors, for some type of museum it should be reasonable, and for others not. I mean, or the audience have any idea of this type of...
Yeah, but the thing is that there are many different museums.
Yeah, sure.
A science museum is totally different from an art museum, and the size of the museum is also, and there are some figures and statistics about museums. In the Netherlands we have the Museumvereniging. It's no, not the Friends. You know the English word for the Museumvereniging? Union. It's some kind of union, and they do some statistics about it, but it changes every year, to my opinion. And it's nice to know, but it's also nice to know to think of your own museum, because I have a problem with when I explain to museums what most museums do. They think, oh, we are safe, or they think, oh, we have to change a little bit towards the well-known museums. And I think that business model innovation is about building your own structure and discussing about it with your staff, and not using the well-known numbers, but producing your own numbers and discussing about it, because it's an important learning process. Yeah, sorry,
No, yes, but I mean, it could drive you if, for instance, a typical figure, I'm saying nonsense, but just to make a point, of customer income is 30% of your total income, and then you are already at 40. You don't have to push on advertising to attract customers, for instance, I don't know, or it might even lower the entrance cost.
Yeah.
So, I mean, having some general idea could help in defining figures that you put into that. For instance, gas station knows very well how much of their income comes from gas, how much from the coffee shop, how
and
much
the candies,
from
and
they know very well.
Yeah.
And so I think that such a study for museum could help.
Yeah, but you should do it for your own museum.
Sure, of course, but then once I know which are the value I can put in place, which are the assets I have, and so on, then I can understand how to leverage them in order to reach some typical situations.
There's a model, the Christie-Krug model, and it helps you to fill in all the different types of revenues you have, and it produces a graph of what really comes from your effort, and it's amazing. I've done this with some castles in the Netherlands, and they were all trying to rent a space for marriages and meetings and so on. And when we made these statistics, they found out that there were many competitors, and the income was decreasing. So it was time to change. In that way, it can help you to see what is going on and if you're the only one doing so well or doing so bad. In that way, I can imagine you would like to have some figures about it. But
I think that sort of an analysis is really critical to do, also in terms of products and platforms. I think another really common mistake I've seen with mobile is both from museums and from mobile vendors is they don't do market research. So they all think they're the first one ever to make an app like that, and it's almost never true. And so they're creating products, reinventing wheels, and in a complete ignorance of what their competitors are doing in the market.
Yeah, true. Is that also what you mean? Yes. Knowing what others are doing?
Having some reference, I might also make an idea if I ask to my suppliers a lot of money up front, or I share the risk with them. You know, these are things that are very important to be understood, because if I have a lot of income from visitors, then I can suggest to my suppliers to share the cost, otherwise not. You know, it's quite important.
True. Yeah. But I don't think this business model canvas will help you on that part.
Sure.
No, it's just a way to we'll see the picture of your business model and start innovating. I'll show you the other one. In this model, they have a platform and other distribution channels, and they say the relationship is distant. And that's an important thing to know. If you have a personal relationship with your customers and you are doing all things through the internet, which many archives in the Netherlands are doing, they lose their personal relationships with the customers. And that's an important thing, because if they want to sell products, they need this personal relationship. And it's the same for museums. When we worked with the business model canvas, we well, it's warm. I'm getting tired. Did you notice? But we had some steps on working on it, and it starts with the business model mapping, putting all things in the business model canvas, and then find new value propositions and value them, and then do the fit of viability check. I'll show you something of it. Then setting a course, making new products, plan the action, execution, and then evaluate. This is, it's all in the PDF I will send you, so you can learn from it. And there's another PDF describing more of it. So I'm just introducing it to you. And this is the fit and viability check. Well, it's, I don't like Excel that much. But by answering all these questions and giving a value to them, and there are many more questions, you'll finally have this one. And this is a simple model. So if you fill it in, you can see whether your new value proposition will be fit and viable or not. And if it's at the right upper quarter, so you have to invest. So it fits with your organization, and it's verifiable. And just by filling in this one, you can have that one. And it's all available on the web for free. You can use it, and that's a description how to use it. But then, again, innovation is the tricky part. We can have a business model canvas, but still we have to innovate. We have to come up with new ideas. And this is one of the ways to innovate your business model using systematic inventive thinking. Does anybody know systematic inventive thinking? Well, let's do a small example. For instance, you all know the Titanic. The Titanic, the boat, it went on the iceberg, and then they had 6 hours. Yeah, they were thinking they had 6 hours, but or maybe 4, and the nearest ship was about 6 hours away from them. So they had to manage to keep at the top for about 6 hours, and they didn't, so they sank. What should they have been doing? Because they could have been saved. Finally, they found out they could have been saved. How? Does anyone have a
captain?
What?
Hire a better captain.
Yeah, but after they then entered the
Kill the captain.
Kill the captain. No, that's all.
Heavy stuff off the boat? I don't know. What could they have done?
No, they have a big leak, you call it. There was a lot of water coming in.
Just close the boat. And Mexico is closed.
Put all the furniture there.
Well, it's systematic thinking is a way of thinking, and it has some principles. And one of the principles is the closed world. So you only use the ingredients that are already there. In this situation, it's the boat, it's the water, it's the iceberg. Well, that's about it, and the people, maybe, and the captain. The captain is part of it's one of the ingredients. If you use the principle of the closed world, you can only use these ingredients and still solve the problem. Another principle is the path of most resistance. Well, I'll show you. And the cognitive fixedness and so on. Well, what they should have been doing is go backwards with the boat and then really enter the iceberg, because their problem was a lack of floating ability. Do I say it right? Yeah. But the iceberg could provide all the ability they needed. So the path of the most resistant is do something you're not familiar. Yeah. There's an yeah. And for instance, the Dyson vacuum cleaner is a really nice example of systematic inventive thinking. Because you have some thinking tools, subtraction, multiplication, and subtraction is pulling one of the ingredients out. So most of the vacuum cleaners have a bag. You put a bag out. Well, what to do now? Then you have to invent other ways of coping with the dust. And that's the way the Dyson vacuum cleaner was invented. Or for instance, you're selling cups of tea with a small plate and a cup and a spoon and a tea bag and sugar. And let's put one ingredient out, the spoon. Yeah, you can put the sugar in a stick or the tea in a stick. And that's not just fun, because imagine you have a really large restaurant and you're selling about 1,000 cups of tea a day, and all these spoons have to be bought and renewed and washed. It really means something for your cost structure. So the business model is a nice thing, and it has another problem. It's flat, and we all know that the world isn't flat either. Still, we use the map of the world. But if you take the business model canvas, where is it? Oh, there at the left top corner, and you fold it, you'll see that your partners reach your customers. And that's what is happening with all the social media. Your customers are becoming your partners, and your partners are becoming your customers. And that's another issue with the business model canvas. Well, this is a really nice thing, the systematic inventive thinking. You should really try it. There's another example. They have a pipe for the gas. Is that correct? Where they transport the gas for cooking and so on. Pipes, yeah. And it was about 200 kilometers through a national reserve. But they put in gas at the front, and there was less gas coming out at the end. So they were losing gas, which was a problem for the environment, but also for their cost. How could they find the leak in 200 kilometers? Oh, well, you use the principle of the closed world. We have the pipe, we have the gas, and the gas is a gas, and it has a smell. I'll give you a hint.
You set it on fire and see where the flame comes from.
Yeah, but then you lose. Then you lose everything. Well, what they did was putting in another smell together with the gas, and it smelled like dead animals. And then how do you call the birds came to the leak, and so they found the leak. Yeah. Well, I'm telling you this because you have to innovate your business model, and you can use all the tricks and tools you can have.
You can use the wire of the bicycle, when you have a hole in your wire, you put it in the water and you see where it comes from.
Yeah, yeah. The principle of the, just think of your museum as a closed world. And what is in your museum? You have a collection, you have a building, maybe you have chairs, you have doors. And just narrow it down to about 5 or 10 ingredients. And then start pulling one out, mixing the functions and so on. It's really a nice way of working. Well, now we have some new insights on concepting, making your brand really important and sharing your values and attracting followers. So you don't decide what your target group is, but you decide what your group of followers is. I don't like to be in a target group myself, because then marketers shoot their arrows on me, and I don't like that. But I like to be a follower, and I think every one of us likes to be a follower for the things we really think are important, the things we really like. And then I try to combine a few things in this board. At the upper part, you think about the identity of your organization, the vision, mission, relation. Step 2 is thinking about your brand, what the values are, what your ambition is, the targets, and your role in society, your role in the community. Then step 3 is just a part of the business model canvas. You think about your assets, you think about your value proposition, and then again you think about your customers. And then at the left part, step 5, is making your plan. And the middle part is about social engagement. If we think of a target group, we think of people from 18 to 24, 24 to 36, male, female, rich, poor, educated, non-educated. But that's not the reality. Reality is that we have to deal with people who work from 9 to 5 in an office. And if our museum is open from 9 to 5, we can't reach them.
And you know how much does it cost to open then after 5?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, but I know as an entrepreneur, I know that I have to invest in order to make money. So you have to invest to make money. And they do so in Amsterdam. They have opening hours at night, and it's really profitable. believe me. And they attract new audiences. But if we are using social media, we don't have one target group, we don't have one audience. And the people in our audience don't have a single story. Because I'm male, I'm a father of almost 5 children. Almost. That's why I can't come to Baltimore.
Is that like sort of pregnant?
Sort of. Really pregnant. Yeah. So I'm telling this because if your museum is sharing something about babies or pregnancy, I'll be interested. But if you define me in a target group, you don't think that I'm part of your audience, so you miss me. That's too bad. And when I'm at home, I'm a different kind of when I'm at sports and drinking beer with my friends. Well, not totally different, I promise you, but I have some other interest. Yeah, and some people in our audience are on a search for moral things. And some of them are on the search for just a product or a nice evening. And then I made this, this scheme, and at the right side there's the transactional part, and at the left side there's the moral part. And from the top to the bottom it's why, how, what, and who. Just use it as another means to define your audience and your followers. Because if you want them to participate, it's useful to search for initiatives. Because it means you have to participate and you have to find the initiatives in which you can participate. Maybe part of your audience is organizing nice events and you can join them and enhance the cultural event they are already having. That's a nice way to show what your museum is about. And if you're talking about reach or relevance, you have to start a lot of communication. So if you're using social media, it's not just about doing a lot of conversation or doing a lot of communication. That depends on what you're about to achieve. Well, I once did a workshop with Louis Talon. You know him? Yeah, he's he's great. I think we had a lot of fun. But he's telling something about making an app which is also useful when you make your plan for other things. And it's, well, the first question is my question. How are we going to make money? Why? With whom? That should always be the first question. And believe me, I'm really into culture. I was almost born in a museum, and I love museums. But I know that if we don't focus on making money and having a really viable business model, we will die. And I once had an interview with Rich Cherry, and he said, well, all museum directors are driven by one main question: how do I get money? By subsidies, by grants, by paying audience, by selling products. Because otherwise, we all wouldn't have a job, and all museums would be closed. So we have to pay for the building. So, and if we think about making money, we have to think about our audience, and we have to know who our audience is, and what they're longing for, and what their desires are. Well, it's not. It's also about experience. All things you do, it's about experience, not about the technology. Social media is not about technology. I once had a chat with Dirk Houtgraaf. He's from the government, and well, it's a part of the government dealing with all the heritage in the Netherlands. And well, he's already building 5 years on an infrastructure. And I was asking him 5 years ago, what are you going to do with social media? And he kept on saying, well, nothing, I'm building an infrastructure. And I said, well, it's not about the technique, it's not about the digitization, it's about the people. And social media is not really digital. Well, it is, and it's online also, but it's also about human resource management and talent management and public relations and customer relationship management. And you should think of that when using social media. And then, oh, I made a mistake, mobile. No. I'll change it. We've almost reached slide number 50, and it's almost 5 o'clock. In short, think about the shortage. What do you need? Because if you're asking something from people, you've got to know what you need. Otherwise, you can't be asking anything. If you want your audience to visit you, that's what you need. If you want them to engage, that's what you need, but be clear about that. Think about the long term. I was talking to Rich, and I asked him, with the Balbeo Park online collaboration, I asked him, how did you manage to, well, if you're working 3 years on an infrastructure, there's a risk of new technologies coming and not being able to adapt to that. And he said, well, we made only small projects. And after every project, we evaluated, we shared the success. And he also thought of a big master plan and involving a lot of stakeholders. And that's really, really important. If you're planning something for your museum, think about your stakeholders. And who is willing, well, if you have a stakeholder, for instance, a restaurant, or someone selling your high resolution stuff in their dresses and so on, they have a really big interest in maintaining the museum. So these stakeholders are really important for your sustainability. So you should start thinking of who are my stakeholders, who are my partners. And then research, reach, relations, resources, and relevance. I have a lot to do with education, and in Netherlands we also make a lot of educational stuff. I'm doing a master myself, art education. I was lecturing and I thought, well, this is a nice master. So I changed my role and I became a student. We are putting so much effort in education, but sometimes we forget to say why our heritage is relevant for all the young people. We say it's an intrinsic, is the word, motivation, because art is important. You should think it's important, but that's not true. You should make it relevant. And it's for everything we're doing, we should think of how making it relevant. Well, let's skip that part. This is question number 13. Does every step, every interaction in the journey strengthen the bold promise of your organization? If you think about your vision and mission, you should make a bold promise. This is what we are going to do. I promise you. And every step you take should lead to that promise. And that's the way to make your organization relevant and sustainable. 5 o'clock.